Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders both past and present. And again, my name's Ali Daddo.
And I'm Cam Daddo.
Just in case you didn't know, it was us.
We're doing a best of show
We are.
or podcast. I don't like calling it a show. I like calling it a conversation or a podcast.
Okay.
You know, I like listening
can
to some
do
people that go, yeah, back to the show. And it's
Right.
like, I don't think we're putting on a show here. We're
Okay.
having a good conversation, right?
Okay, yeah.
Just to get that out of the way.
Got it.
So our best of today is about some of the stories that we've collected through 2024 of how our couples
Yes.
meet
There's some rippers
and how they've
in here.
met.
Yeah.
So, as you know, at the beginning of every podcast, we always ask a couple how they met. We never know what kind of tale we're going to get.
Yeah, but we always look forward to them because they're always so interesting. Whether sometimes they think it's a boring story. I never think it's a boring story. I'm always curious about what they're going to say, whether they're funny or heartwarming. But today we're going to relive some of our favourites, how they met moments from the past year.
We've got Wes Carr and Charlotte who met and connected over a trail of lies told at a barbecue. Have a listen to this. How long have you guys been together? How did you meet?
Oh man.
Should I tell my version?
You go.
So we were at a barbecue in Sydney. We shared a dear mutual friend, and I had lived with this particular person for quite some time. She'd also lived with Wes at a separate time, and she used to play him a lot in the house that we were living at in Hastings. Is it Hastings Parade in Bondi Beach? And she would play his music, and I was like, "Who's this?" Like, because I knew Lior, and I knew a few of these guys that were playing around town. And she's like, "Oh, it's Wes. I can't believe you don't know Wes." I'm like, "No, I actually don't know Wes." And I rock up to this barbecue. I was there with someone else, and I run up the steps, and Susie's like, "Oh, this is Wes." And I was like, "Oh, you're Wes." And we got chatting, and he was,
infamous.
and so we were sitting around this barbecue, and I was having this delicious salad, and I was like, "Oh, who made this?"
Oh no, here we go.
Yeah, I'm really doing it. And he goes, "I did." And I said, "Oh, amazing." Kind of impressed as well because it was delicious.
He cooks. He sings. He cooks.
Yeah, there was a few little things going on for me. I was like, "That's nice." And he's like, I said, "What's in it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, it's got chicken,
Oh right.
vegetables."
Okay.
I was like, "It tastes like duck." And he's like, no, chicken marinated. And I was like, "Okay." Anyway, so we play out this time at this barbecue, and he's drinking a 2-liter bottle of Coke or something, and I'm like,
So bad.
I just started looking after you from the beginning. I was like, "Get that out of your hand. That's ridiculous." And he said, "What do you do?" And at the time, I was just working on a show, and I said, I go to the gym, and I'm on this show." And he's like, "Great. I'm so glad that you're going to the gym because I'm actually a personal trainer. And I've just come back from LA, and I'd love to go to the gym with you, and I'd love to."
so bad when
It
you
does.
say
It really does.
What was Dude doing who you bought that day? Was like, where is Charlotte? She's over there talking to caveman Wes, you know?
Well, like we were just like in the friendship zone kind of vibe as well.
Right.
Anyway, it's in your 20s. Everyone's kind
Oh,
of,
okay. So what year was this?
2008.
2007?
2008. It was February 2008.
Yeah.
Around this time, actually, possibly this week again.
There you go.
And
It was last month, wasn't
look,
it? Yeah.
I
No.
got to tell some context to that because that really exposes me. I was standing on the steps. She comes up like this radiant angel with these pearly white teeth. And I was working in a bar at the time. I was playing gigs every night of the week and then working at the bar. And I was just like, and then going to the gym. I have no idea why I was going to the gym. I think I was just trying to get fit and
You were
undo.
obsessed.
And there she was. And I just went, wow, how do I get to know this person? What is going on here? I couldn't believe it. And then as I was overhearing, she liked cooking. She went to the gym and all. Oh, okay. Well, there's the salad. Yeah, I made that salad, thinking nothing of it, but realized that, I just bought it 20 minutes ago. But I just needed to get this conversation going
Right.
because I was so like, I wasn't a very good conversation starter. I was quite awkward and still am, and quite shy and all the things. So I don't know. I was attempting everything. I had all my cards on the table that day.
He's inviting me to the gym that night. Like I get back and he's like, okay, so we've got the gym tomorrow. I'd love to train you. I'll meet you outside. What time are you going?
Oh, it's such a bad. Stop saying that.
He was there. He was there in his Dark Side of the Moon t-shirt, like skin and bone, looking like an absolute rocker, waiting for me at 6 o'clock with my favorite coffee. And we never have we been apart since.
Only when I go on the road or whatever, but we never really are apart at all. We're an amazing team ever since that day, really.
Now, obviously, we don't always speak to couples. We have spoken to best friends and mothers and daughters and fathers and sons because it's relationship. It's not necessarily partner relationship. Though in this instance, we spoke to a couple in a working relationship.
Yeah, Nova's very own Jace and Lauren joined us to reflect on how they became the powerhouse radio duo that they are today.
So do you remember it was a very sort of awkward prearranged meeting? It kind of had this seedy feeling to it, but it was really all about the chemistry, which they have so much of. So take a listen to this.
Jason and I, it was like an arranged marriage. We got put in a hotel room together.
We met in a hotel room. Now,
Just the two of you?
Yeah, well, no, talk about seedy. It was me, one other boss in this hotel room, sitting there with a little recorder, and I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, and he's like, I just got the phone call, Lauren's downstairs. I'll go get her. And I'm like, there is no way I'm sitting in this room by myself when you guys walk back in. Like this.
Yeah.
This just looks a little bit.
And
It
so
felt like
is
the
that
scene
what
of, like,
happened though, Lauren?
a
Was he
cheap-
sitting on the end
No,
of the
I
bed?
came downstairs.
No, he came down. He came downstairs. He didn't want me to walk in. Like he was just sitting there waiting for me.
There she is.
But that was the beginning of our.
Weird channel on the TV. Like,
Yeah,
hang on
seriously.
a minute. What's that?
It was like a seedy adult film. But that was sort of the beginning of our working relationship. And I think we both walked away from that in such an awkward situation. And I was like, and my boyfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, he was like, do you want me to sit out the front and wait for you? Like, do you want a code word that you can text me if I need to come and bang
Mate,
the door down and rescue
if I'd
you?
been your fiance, I would have said, I am sitting out the front waiting, and
I'm in the
pineapple is
room.
our word.
Yeah,
Okay?
I'm coming up into
A
the
safe
room.
word.
It was an awkward situation, but we weren't awkward with each other at the
No,
start.
because we were both so awkward. We were like, it was uncomfortable for both of us, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
it
you
kind of
guys-
cancelled each other out.
You
So-
guys get it. It's like chemistry's so hard to get, and you can't force it. And I keep saying to Lauren, like I've been doing this for like 27 years, and it's so rare to have that host-co-host relationship where it just clicks.
Yeah, we were
we're
lucky.
still working on it. We haven't. Right? We're
Well,
getting there. We're in
The
training.
mortgage is dependent on it, guys, so make it work.
Indeed. One of our more unorthodox couples that we've had on separate bathrooms. When Siobhan and Rich met online and began dating, they'd barely heard of polyamory.
We had a lot of conversations about this after we interviewed them as well with our kids and other couples, just to sort of hear what other people's take was, because it was such an interesting
And they did
conversation.
have a take on it.
Yeah.
A lot of people have opinions on this.
And it's certainly not for everyone, but these two have made it work. And now they actually can't imagine it going back to any other way than the way it is right now.
Take a listen. So, how did a girl from Australia and a boy from the Midlands meet?
Well, the internet. We met in the September of 2022, which...
No, 2020.
Oh, Christ. In the September of 2020. And the reason that is significant is because that was a few months that we had between the two major lockdowns here in the UK over the COVID pandemic period. So... yeah, we met sort of when we were allowed out, and then we had to spend a little bit of time separated in the second lockdown. But, I mean, all is possible with the internet and Hinge.
Pandemic romance, if you will.
And were you already living in the UK, Siobhan?
So I moved to the UK from Sydney in March of 2020. I actually arrived in the UK 3 days before the big lockdown started.
Oh, okay.
COVID hadn't really kicked off in Sydney when I left. So it was quite a transition to be going on the other side of the world and then living with a bunch of strangers in a London share house, but it all worked out really well. And then then 6 months later, I met Richard.
Gotcha.
So we opened up our podcast talking about this label of polyamorous. We are curious about how you guys make it work. So I had to go to the dictionary to get a dictionary meaning of what polyamorous went. I also went to Google. And so I'm curious, guys, were you polyamorous before you met, or did this all happen after you met?
No, we were monogamous for the first year or so, I would say. When we first met, like, the idea was probably as alien to us as it may be to you guys now, even maybe even more so, because I feel like in the last sort of two years or so, it's kind of become a bigger part of the social discourse. I think as time went on, I personally had always felt like something was not quite fulfilled in my life. And through university friends, I was still studying at the time, just started having these discussions about this thing called polyamory. And the more we spoke about it, the more I was like, this really resonates with me. It really sounds like me. Fast forward a few months after this idea had come into my life, I realized that it was very much me and decided to have the big conversation with Siobhan, which was terrifying, to say the least.
Yeah. And Siobhan, for you, what was that first discussion like when Rich approached you with this idea of polyamory?
I actually, when Richard said, it kind of came out to me in this way, I sort of said to him, I'm shocked, and because I'm trying to work out what this means to me, but I'm not surprised. And the reason for that was because I always felt as though there was a part of Richard that I didn't quite know about. When Richard told me this, we'd been together for 15 months. So we were living together. I was a stepmother to his child. So we had a lot of intimate experiences, but I knew that there was something that was missing, that I wasn't quite getting to the bottom of that chest, so to speak. And Richard also described it to me as his orientation, something that is fixed for him. It's not a lifestyle choice. And that was something that was new to me. I had never heard someone describe to me a relationship orientation in a similar way to how someone might describe their sexuality. It's not a choice for Rich. And so for me, it was a really challenging thing to learn about, because for me, our polyamorous relationship is a choice. I've been happy monogamous. I'm happy polyamorous. And so for me, I had to sit down and decide, is it a mind shift, or is this something that is not for me? Maybe I'm oriented monogamously. And so I decided not to make a decision and just to see what happened and treat it as an experiment. And 2.5 years later, I'm still here. So I suppose I've made that decision.
This was just a delightful conversation, the one we're about to listen to. We were so excited to be talking to Australia's first ever MasterChef, Julie Goodwin. And we also got to sit down with her husband, Mick, and he spilled the beans on the couple's first encounter.
Yeah. So going all the way back to high school, this couple have truly gone the distance, and now they are parents and they're grandparents.
Yeah. Here is Julie and Mick Goodwin. If you can fill us in, how did you two meet?
You're going to talk first?
So Jules and I met, we're going back to 1989.
Yep.
And
It's the year we met, Cam.
It is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go. We met through a St. Vincent de Paul youth group. So one of my mates, he was the school captain of my high school, St. Leo's College at Wahroonga.
Yep.
We started this Vinnie's group in high school, years 11 and 12. And then when school finished, he decided that he wanted to keep it rolling. He knew Julie because Julie was the school captain of her school, Hornsby Girls High.
Wow,
so
that's
he
impressive.
Invited her, invited her along to join this group. That's how we met.
School captain, Julie.
Yeah.
Was that
Those
voted,
are the days. I think it was hip to be square back then, and I was pretty square. So
Now, was that voted on by the teachers or the students?
Students voted for all the prefects, and then I think the prefects voted for who they wanted for the captain.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So head prefect, it was called at Hornsby Girls High School.
Yeah.
Head
I
prefect,
was
darling.
I was a St Ives High girl. We were kind of almost mixing in the same circles.
Well, kind of. I think your St Ives circles might have been slightly more rarefied than the Hornsby circles.
It's not normally put that way. Private school and public school people normally go, private school, Oh,
Yeah, well,
yes.
we were known as Snives back then, and
Snives.
it's come a long way, that school. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, Hornsby has too. It's selective now, but it
Oh, is that
certainly wasn't
right?
back then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's good to
so
know.
you met back then. You were school captain, so you were around year 12. Then were you hanging out for those years, and then you got married like a few years on from that?
Yeah, for many years on, Cam. Gosh, he's slow on the uptake, this one. But, well, just out of high school. So, we were 18 when we met, and we were 19 by the time he figured that out, that I liked him. And then it was another, nearly 6 years till we got married.
Wow.
Because, I'm a patient. I've got the patience of a saint.
You do.
Slow and steady wins the race.
That's
There you go.
true.
Like-
That's
what
true,
my dad told
Vic.
me.
Like a slow cooker, hey?
Oh,
it,
God.
mate.
Slow something.
It's another cooking pun. There could be more to follow.
There could
Look
be.
out.
I haven't scripted any of these. They're just flying off the top of my head.
They're just rolling out.
I'm just impressing myself here. I'm
Well done.
I'm self-basting here.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
no.
too much.
Yeah,
So,
too much.
Mick,
Agreed.
did you know from the get-go that Julie was the one, and were you sort of like, this is it, this is my gal for the rest of my life?
Yeah, definitely.
What was it
Definitely.
about
You just
her?
didn't tell me.
What was it about Julie that you love? Or loved her and still love, I'm sure.
Yeah, do you know what? I probably didn't realise it back then, but it was her intelligence and her strength, I guess.
And Julie, for you, what was it about Mick that you loved?
Oh, where do I start? He had a wicked mullet. And
It's come back again. How about that?
Yes, all the footy
I know,
players
right?
have got him.
I know. No, he was just very funny. So, yeah, I had a lot of laughs with him, and we got on really well. So, yeah, we were friends, like, right off the bat. But also I learned, over time that he was extremely principled. I knew because I'd met him through a St Vincent de Paul group. Well, these boys, these group of boys, were doing amazing charity work. Just going out on their weekends, going down to sort of Sydney and taking out a bus from Matt Talbot Hostel and taking coffee around to King's Cross and Central Station and giving it to homeless people and stuff. So I knew that he had a really good heart, and just his principles came through to me. And yeah, I just. He was hot as well, which never hurts. And I fell madly in love with him.
Well, we couldn't get enough of these two. Anthony Calea and Tim Campbell may be the most hilarious couple that we've had on the pod.
It's quite possible. It was just a barrel of laughs throughout the entire episode. I mean, you could have just sat back and listened to them all day, just cracking
We didn't need
jokes
to be
about
there.
each other. We did
Really.
not need to
We
be
just
there.
prodded them. Bit.
But what really showed was how much the couple, that they really love each other. However, their first encounter, which is really interesting, didn't really go how you would expect it, with one of them not even remembering it at all.
First impressions do matter, we found out. You take a listen.
Speaking of meeting, how did the two of you first meet? What was sort of the first impression of each other?
Okay, there's two very different answers there.
Twin
We
teams?
actually, it's a very gay story. We met on stage in a musical. So we were both cast in a production of Rent in Perth. Back in 34 BC, it was a long time ago, and so yeah, I was kind of very nervous because it's my first ever professional musical, and I was cast having to sing opposite Anthony Calea, and I was an actor on Home and Away. I wasn't, as much of a singer as he was, so that was a bit of nerves. When we first met,
That wasn't actually the first time that we met, apparently.
I don't remember this, but you give your version of the story.
Okay, here we go. So we actually met. Okay, that's true. We actually met for the first time. I was doing, in 2007, I did Dancing with the Stars, and Anthony was doing It Takes Two, which is the kind of the poor man singing version of Dancing with the Stars.
Okay, just continue.
So the cast of It Takes Two came onto set to do a promotional performance in one of our episodes, jumping on the coattails. So it was a rehearsal because, back then it was live TV. So I think they were rehearsing. And I think after they did a run and we were walking down the corridor and I saw him and I just wanted to say hello. Never met him before. It literally, I wish you could see the visual. It literally, I'm walking along, he's walking along probably with an entourage because you know what music industry people are like. So we're walking along the corridor. I said hello. I got the biggest bitch face you've ever seen, like that resting bitch face look, and did not say a word to me.
Well, you didn't really make an impression and you didn't look like Chris Hemsworth, so I wasn't giving you any time today.
So, yeah, it wasn't love at first sight, but okay, good on you, mate. You're not Shannon Noll.
What about me?
What about that?
I'd love to see it with a goatee, though, mate. You could do that. You could rock a goatee, Anthony. No, I don't know about that.
So you meet on Rent, and Anthony, did you remember that crossing in the hallway where you gave him Paddington Hearts?
Absolutely do not remember
No,
that
but Tim
encounter.
did.
I don't even remember him on Dancing with the Stars, let alone Home and Away.
It was all about the Hemsworth, wasn't it?
Yeah. Are you Chris lookalike? Nah, sorry, mate.
No, but on Home and Away, he was with one little wog, and then in real life, he went to another little wog, just a
Right.
different gender. Went from Ada to Anthony. That was fun.
Such good stories.
First impression. You only get one chance at a first impression, they say.
Yeah.
So make it last.
It's amazing the stories that our couples have told us. Some have sort of been, they knew from the first second they met each other, love at first sight. Some that were like, didn't even like him, but then he grew on me. Like, it's never been the same story ever. It's always been different. And I love that.
Yeah, well, variety, eh? If we're all the same, it'd be pretty boring.
Sure would.
And boring. Not like you, honey.
Boring.
You're not either of those.
Oh, well, cheers to that. Thanks.
Have a great day.
All
or
right.
night.
Thanks for listening.